OTAN, Outreach and Technical Assistance Network.
Hi, I'm Amy Pattin. I am the principal at CSP Sacramento. CSP SAC is the most violent prison in the state. And we are the third most violent in the country. Often if you see incidents that happen in the newspaper, it says it's Folsom. It's actually not Folsom State Prison, which is actually right next door to my prison. But it is my institution. So we have sort of the bad of the bad throughout the state. We're considered what's called a level 4 institution. We have a lot of incarcerated individuals that may never be released. And yet we still have a full academic program and CTE program and college and in our institution that we try and teach our students through all of the things that are going on with us. And sometimes they do get to go home and we want to support them better as they end up in your schools, hopefully, and what we can do to encourage them to end up in your school. So that's really where Patrick and I came in with the idea. And Patrick formally taught at CSU Sacramento, so we can commiserate what that's like. And I know some of you are also our incarcerated fellows. So you know what we experience all the time as we go through.
But we're here from prison, but we go home at night. So, you're in your office at your happy little adult school in Happyville, California, and you get a phone call. Hi, my name is Rudolph. I just got out of the slam. I wanna come to your school. Can I come talk to you? What are you thinking? Think to yourself, what is your expectation as this guy walks in the door? Share with your partners what you're thinking, your fears.
What does that look like for you all? What do you do? What do you say when somebody calls up in that kind of situation?
What do you expect them to be like when they walk in your door?
Scary. Me? Well, I was telling him that, I do get that call and sometimes when I'm like, yeah, it's scary, but I feel like I changed the way I speak to them. Because I become more aware, what am I trying to say? Cause I don't wanna upset them over the phone and then come in. You know, so my mind and the way I just start talking to them kind of changes once they, oh, yeah, I just got out of jail. I'm like, oh, okay, how are you today? You know, like, let me make sure he understands I'm here to help, you know? But basically, you know, physically in my mind, I'm just expecting, you know, tatted, you know, tough looking person coming into the.
Do they ever show up?
Yes, yes. I think we've reached out to Patrick a couple times trying to like, can you help us? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, he showed up and now how do I help him?
Oh, anyone else?
I think coming from like teaching junior high and then going to work at Calipat, another level 4, where I work with both very much. And, you don't know, you're scared at first, even though I knew where I was applying. But so when you ask that question, a lot of us are like, well, it's kind of hard to answer now because we've been in there for about 8 years now. And so I kind of, you know what you're gonna get. And a lot of them they look scary, but they're not scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might be more afraid of them than they are of us, you know, in fact, it's a huge thing to have to come and say these things, right? As you were saying, we need to really have some empathy because, you know, you can imagine the different types of reactions they have to go through every day.
Right? Especially if the person she described is walking down the street or in Nordstrom.
Also for me, kind of to elaborate on what she said is, we have to be very mindful because remember, these individuals are coming back to our public school system, had a really bad experience in school already. So they were not successful students, right? So, and they might have that misconception or, oh, I hated that teacher or that subject area. So we have to be more empathetic
Yeah.
and understanding and hopefully change that mindset to be more welcoming and more inclusive.
Lynn,
I want to add also for folks who maybe are, and what do you expect to see? This might not be something you expect to see, but something you definitely will see. Is the person in front of you has, at a minimum, spent 2 years learning to live their life by what somebody else tells them to do. Nothing that they do is unscripted, nothing that they do is uncontrolled. They are looking at you, you are now the authority in their educational world. So you probably would not expect it, but you're definitely getting someone who is nervous. They're in a completely, just for full transparency, I know someone who, this past week had a relative come home and she was unprepared. And she reached out to me and she was unprepared for his need to look to her to tell him what to do and how to be a successful human being because he hasn't been able to do those things. And in education, that's a double-edged sword, right? Because here we are trying to set them up for success without understanding how they perceive everything we say as, this is what I have to do, and if it's overwhelming, that could be a tipping point.
very much so. So I want to give you an insider's look at what our folks look like. They're 18 to 80, sometimes older. They're mostly all male. Women do naughty things too, and we have 3 or 4 places for them, but mostly they're male. Yes, they are tatted up. Very often, they're not tatted up by choice. That's imposed on them by different politics. So you can't always say or read anything into it because they've been told. They're, as Lynn has said, they're scared of living in freedom. Think about the first time you went away from home, went to college, and now like what jillion triple that. It's that much more. It's terrifying. I was saying to someone at lunch, I've dealt with guys who came to us at 13 and they're 46, 47 going home. And, you ask some questions like, when you get dropped off at the station where you're going to, how are you gonna call? How are you gonna notify your family that you're there? Well, just use the payphone. The 70s called and they want their answer back. It's just not there. So they have so much to learn. They don't make good choices. Hello, where they're coming from. Clearly, they're not making good choices. This bit has been hinted at already, and this is nobody in this room, but they suffered at the hand of bad education and bad educators. The gentleman today really hit the nail on the head when he was talking about this, is this is that group of people that you have to dance with differently to get them to feel confident and to feel heard and to feel comfortable. I've done this, we didn't rehearse this, but I've done this a million times. Do like this for me. Everybody, please do like this for me. Now move your fingers over one. How's that feel? Different, strange, weird, uncomfortable. Is it wrong?
For me.
It's wrong, okay, thank you for your honesty, but it's not, I wouldn't go to a child saying, you're doing that wrong. No, it's not wrong, but it's just uncomfortable. And that's what we're asking these guys to do, is be uncomfortable. You're gonna see, this has already been alluded at, crusty exteriors, but cream-filled middles. They are relational learners. They are screaming, it's gonna sound weird, they're screaming to be loved and appreciated and known. They're screaming out for it. It's probably the psychological thing that may have led them to their life. And then lastly, there is the specter game. You have to be aware of it, but if they're calling you, they're committing to making a change, so they've taken a big step. already, but it's still there. Gang involvement isn't always a choice. And you have to be aware of it, and you have to give some thought about what you're going to maybe have to do if this gets drawn in your door. It's a real thing. They have an inability to pay or buy supplies, so you have to be gentle there. I know that from what I've heard from my colleagues at the adult schools, this is an issue already in some areas, but you need to be hyper aware of it, right down to saying, if you need a binder, we can't help you with it, but if you go to ABC storage reach, you might need to help them that way, okay? So I have a quick video for you. It's gonna say, 52 and a half minutes or something. Now there, ignore that. We're gonna all just watch the first minute or so of this video so you can see some faces and some environment.
Whether it was addiction, anger, violence, criminality, whatever these issues were internally for each of us, there was a safe place to address that, to explore that, to start getting the therapy, the help that we needed, that I needed to address those issues.
I really wasn't involved in school when I was on the street. I had really no intention of ever getting a GED or high school diploma. I'm one of 5 children, the oldest, and I'm the last one to receive either my GED or high school diploma. It took a while, it took a lot of work, a lot of determination. It can be done. Anybody that wants it, you can get it. Don't ever give up.
It's really amazing how when I came in, I had a shell.
If CDCR actually has their own
And now
YouTube,
people can approach.
now I'm gonna have to figure out how to escape. Should I do?
CDCR does have its own YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You can go there and watch the full video if you are interested. CDCR, we really didn't say, so I'm gonna back up a little bit. California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. We're the ones shining the light around the rehabilitation side. This is what we do, okay? Any questions so far?
Can you tell the acronym one more time? CDC?
Sure, CDCR, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
Is that true?
We were trying to get those 2 words switched, but it's not happening.
Sorry.
So Amy, I'm gonna go
Yep.
and you can pick up. One of the programs we have is called Transitions. And oddly enough, both Amy and I came to the state of California, hired as new teachers, and taught this reentry class called Transitions. Within Transitions, we prepare them with career and job readiness skills and financial literacy skills. It was originally a 5-week course, and now it's taking 10 weeks. And the people we enroll are at least, 2 years from the house or less. We don't say home for a reason. Many more people don't have a home to go to. So we have to neutralize that, say they're 2 years from the house. We don't use the term release because they're not really being released from custody, 98% of them, because parole is still custody. And then we have a segment of the population that they take a step outside the door and INS fixes. So we say they're so far from the house. And we work with them, and ultimately they walk away with what we call the portfolio. The portfolio is the things that all of us know to put together as we grow up. Things like our social security card, our driver's license number, our birth certificate, our home address, our vaccine cards, all those sorts of grown-up papers our guys don't know anything about and what to do with them.
I don't know, it's a little crazy. Transition.
We did, like a few bars.
Light behind bars. And now it's not, it's gonna make me go like this. I really just wanted to show you that whole video, so go to the CDCR YouTube website so you can see it. But life behind bars for our incarcerated individuals, every minute is scheduled for them. And scheduled in a way of they're in their cell, when they eat, where they go, when they go. Education within CDCR is compulsory if they need a high school diploma or a GED. So they're required to be in class. They don't get to choose what time they go to class. We tell them what time they're gonna go to class. They get assigned to a job, a porter job, janitor job, go working in the laundry, go work in the kitchen. They get assigned those jobs, they don't get those wasted. So every minute of their day, every day is scheduled. They have a little bit of wiggle room, whether or not they want to go to yard, for example, which is, they have the opportunity to do every day. But they don't get a choice of what time that yard is offered for them.
Or who else is out there?
Correct. So those, they don't have those choices. So if they're coming to your adult school and they need a lot of classes still, and you might say to them, well, you need these 10 classes, which ones do you want to work on right now? They're not used to making their own choices. They're not used to getting to make their own choices. So some support is really important for them. Some support of, like you would do with a little kid. Well, you can choose this or this. Give them two choices.
But not with that voice.
Right? Like, as an adult, well, you need an English class, you need a math class, and you need an elective. And you're allowed to take two classes at the same time. I would suggest that you maybe do a difficult class, such as an English or a math, and then let's pick an elective, something fun that you might really enjoy, right? So helping them, they need that extra guidance instead of just pick 10 classes. Here's what you gotta work on. You get to decide what you're gonna do.
And this is very opposite what we learn in pedagogy, is that adult learners are supposed to have choice. So we're kind of telling you the opposite, but you start slow and get broad. Because these are people who are going to make, they don't have any auto choices at this point. They're having to make choices about every little thing. Sorry.
When you say that they don't have like choices, or is this like only level 4 prisons, or is it like all of them throughout the state?
As a level 4 institution, they have the least amount of choice. So some of the lower level institutions, they do have more choices. But still, for the most, they're being
Still in
directed,
prison.
they're still in prison, they're still directed when they can do certain things. At the lower level institutions such as Folsom State Prison or San Quentin, everybody knows San Quentin. Yard is much more fluid, for example, when they can go out to exercise or hang out outside. Those opportunities are more fluid for them, but they're still getting patted down a lot of times. When they're making that choice, if they're leaving their cell or not, having to ask to leave their cell. Again, the choices are really minimal and they're taken away from them. That goes with the control, and as Patrick already said, sometimes they have been incarcerated since they were teens. So they went through the DJJ system, the county juvenile halls, all those kinds of things, and then came into our adult system at 18. We have a lot of those folks that they were in trouble when they were children and they just continued into our system of adulthood. And so they have not been out on the streets for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. At this point,
They've been inside more.
and especially of their adult life, but sometimes even of their entire life. Well, when I was at Folsom, we had family members, a father and a son, brothers, both housed together at the same institution. So it is a family situation, a pattern that they're following.
Again, we're back to change.
Question, Tri-Valley area has Santa Rita Jail. Probably it's like less like severe, and they're likely getting out at some point, unless they are like transferred to somewhere else, but how do we know, do they have this kind of education outlet to them? How do we know without searching from our work laptops? Do we just grab a phone and then we talk to them and then the department that is coming?
That's
or-
coming.
I don't know how to link my school to those.
We're gonna have that
local-
solution.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you for setting us up.
Yeah, that's perfect,
Foreshadowing.
for sure.
I'm gonna take a sidewalk and come here. You bring up a good point. This is very touchy, and if they get offended very easily, if you say, oh, you're coming from jail. Ooh.
Buzzword,
No, jail is
okay,
the peanuts, that's just county. They've been to prison.
okay.
And then if somebody's coming from the feds, they've been from the penitentiary. So you don't say, oh, you know, you're coming from prison. No, I was in the penitentiary. So
Levels.
that's just a little vocabulary thing. Michael Santos is a former federal felon who was in what? Penitentiary. Served 26 of a 49-year sentence for running drugs. He pretty much fully rehabilitated. He's out last March. He celebrated complete freedom. He was off parole. He's written many books and he uses I use some of his curriculum in the program I manage. I went with he and the director and some folks to visit San Quentin, last year sometimes, and he was addressing a room full of inmates. And, one of them asked, what was different for you on the streets after 26 years? And he said 3 things. I'm just not used to the freedoms. It's just, it was so weird. My wife, I wanted my wife to tell me when to go to the bathroom, when to eat, when to go to bed. He said the other thing is the bed was too comfortable. I had to sleep on the floor for like years because it didn't feel right. And the last thing was he couldn't eat with metal utensils. It tasted weird to him. He kept eating with plastic. Imagine. That sounds so small, but that's their life. Thank you, Amy.
Oh, no, I can't even push the space bar. There we are.
This is where you all need to be involved a little bit. We're gonna talk a little bit about our school, and then we wanna know about your school. Our schools are a full school within a prison. We have a coach, we have a special ed teacher, we have the principal, we have the vice principal, we have all the teachers, everything you can imagine. We do kindergarten through PhD. We don't do the PhD, we partner, but that's another presentation. We have a full CTE program. Now, you can't take every possible CTE area at every prison. We do have one prison that used to be a women's prison, and they had a cosmetology program. When it turned into a male prison, they left the cosmetology program for the men. So there's a variety across the state. We have all credentialed teachers, though due to a hiccup politically, when this happened, we have to hire K-12 credential, single subject or multiple subject, and we can't use an adult credential. Say it with me, now let's do it. And it just is what it is. It's what we've inherited. We're fully WASC accredited, many of our schools, not all. The chairs and the tables are bolted to the floor. So I said this a million times. I doubt anyone in here could learn effectively in the environment we expect our students to learn in. They're loud, they're active, they're extremely hot. It's very difficult. It's not a preschool setup, with a really wall in the back where the kids can go and we can still see them. That's where we work. In level 4, not comfortable for teachers like her, me either. These are grown men. And then we deal with the security levels. Level 1, non-violent, pretty much. A little bit more freedom. You expect more things from them. Level 4, scary. And that's what we do there. So tell me about an adult school. What's an adult school like? Push button, the thing? No. Okay. What's an adult school like?
Mobile furniture.
Okay. Well, you should read it. Mobile furniture,
They have independent studies too.
independent study.
Access to technology.
We haven't even gotten there yet.
Too much for you.
Can I use the word normal school?
No, I just.
No?
Not too much.
So what does the day look like for a student at your school?
Daytime, nighttime, flexible.
With flexible hours?
Flexibility, a lot of choices.
Do you have in the adult schools on the street, the school, like when I was a principal of an elementary and a high school, I was on the campus at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, same. And then the campus, when I was lucky, was closed by 10 at night. Same, right?
They don't have CDCR officers everywhere either.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
We don't have. So don't think that I have a room full of 18 murderers with a cop standing in the corner.
No, I'm saying the adult schools don't even have an officer.
Oh, yeah.
We
They
don't
have an
have
officer.
an actual officer.
Maybe they do.
But it's only children being.
Okay. Your students go home at night,
Yes.
right? I like to say that I teach in a way school in a gated community. That's what these people do. Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah.
And then, okay, we did that.
No, we're at.
Oh, I have to look back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't do this. We want to know this.
So a few of the things as we are preparing, so as Patrick talked about with our transitions class that we both used to teach and just trying to prepare our students for release or to the gate. We try and help them get a California ID as best we can. A social security number, making sure that they know it. And to be honest, a lot of them don't. Or what they thought they knew their social security number as, that's not really their social security number. I went through that trying to help a student with Pell Grant when we started our VA program when I was at Folsom State Prison. Everywhere in his records it had a certain number. And he believed that was his number, and he had been incarcerated for 20 plus years. His parents thought that was his number. Yes. And yet the federal government said, no, that's not your number. You don't get Pell Grant money. And he was gonna get kicked out of our VA program that we were just starting. I was on the phone with him in my office on speaker, talking to Social Security, trying to work out what his number was. And we got a blessing on the phone, who actually then worked it out that we could get his number for him. But that's something really difficult that we take for granted. We call up, we go down to an office or something. Those steps are really difficult for our students. Multi-step, multi-tasks are really difficult for them. But we try as best we can to make sure that they have that information and know that they need that information when they're getting ready to go out. We have a resume. When we taught transition, we gave them resumes. My students, luckily, I was able to work out that they could get on a computer, type it, and then we were able to print it. A lot of hurdles when I was doing that. Patrick's students were using newsprint. So think back.
Second grade paper.
I was thinking kindergarten, yeah, think back to that old school newsprint and handwritten.
with a golf pencil.
We were setting them up as best we could. And it was about, why would they even need a resume if they've been incarcerated for a long time? What kind of skills would they have? Well, they were maybe a porter, as we call them in corrections, they were a porter, which is a janitor. Well, then what they talk about. Who do they work for, Patrick?
I trained mine that you work for the state of California. That's who paid you.
Yep.
90 cents an hour.
90?
8 cents an hour. Well, I had good ones. 8 cents an hour.
Janitors get 8 cents an hour. 13, I think was the top.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you don't wanna say, yeah, I worked at San Quentin. Oh, you were a CO? No. You were a janitor for the state of California. We now have a law, that's called ban the box. Employers, except employers in certain categories, can't ask that question. I would challenge you, and you don't need to know this. If they are restricted from being at a school for their restrictions, they won't go near you. So you don't need to know, but if they volunteer, you need to be prepared to support.
They might have their rap sheet. So what did they do while they were incarcerated? I would encourage you not to look at it. If they happen to come to you and they're like, here's my papers, and you're going through them. I almost never look up what our students are in for, because I don't wanna know. CPCR, the R was added about 15 years ago, which is rehabilitation. And all of us, I believe, are here for rehabilitation. So I don't even know what they did on the worst day of their life. And then we have our transcripts. A transcript or a record of achievement that says what they did, what classes they were assigned to. So ABE, we all know what ABEs are. But what tests they took, what scores they received, we're trying to set them up so they have that.
Okay, so what are your requirements? In the perfect world, what are they gonna show up with for you?
Transcript. You need the transcripts, those records.
So the adult schools on the street, what do you want them to show up with?
An ID,
An ID, California ID,
or any ID.
okay,
Social
prison
security.
ID,
You want the social security number?
okay,
Yeah, you just
that's
have-
all you need, gosh, that's
We
easy.
just ask for an ID, and if they say I don't have it, then we just take the information and still provide.
Oh, well, yeah,
You do?
Yeah,
So they don't have to have a picture ID?
no, or social security
already-
or immigration status or.
well, now we're done with the presentation, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are,
And not
let me-
knowing. Yeah.
ask the question, and we'll move on to the REA.
So our question here, is there any sort of universal as adult school applications? You all have different applications.
Yeah.
In the different districts,
That's
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We were-
What do you mean application? Like,
To apply for the school.
To apply to school, to go to
Would
your
you guys
school.
even need an application?
No.
Oh,
There's not?
We have it in an enrollment application.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we have an enrollment
You guys
application.
don't?
It's just from what I've seen, I actually work with a publisher for English, so I see all of the schools all around California. And for the most part, you walk in with your ID and you sign up there at the front desk, and that's pretty much it. They'll fill it in with you.
that's,
yeah. That's the best news all day. Let's
Yeah.
go on.
That is definitely great news.
So this REA, or Record of Educational Achievement, is a part of the student record that we accumulate through our database. Here is an example of it. Names are blocked to protect the guilty, but it's gonna show you everything that they've done. This is just 2 little segments. So it'll show you all the certificates, all the achievements, all the things they've attempted, all their standardized testing scores, everything. If we have captured their social security number, it may be here. Up here, it's gonna give their date of birth, as far as we know. language, it is gonna be from the CDCR. Okay, but this is actually a very good source. If you Google, CDCR student records, it gives you a phone number that they can call to request one of these to be mailed. Yep,
If a student is, or an adult is assessed for learning disability, will they be able to call that number and get access to that record?
the student disability is protected. They can call and gain their records and send it, but it's not automatically produced on the REA.
CDCR
No,
doesn't
but-
assess for those disabilities.
Oh, they don't
right?
assess.
No, they only, if they have a learning disability, it'll be done at the lower levels. And a lot of times CDCR doesn't even have that information.
My
But when we
students,
do, they're scanned into songs.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. we do that.
yeah, my students used to ask for the records from wherever they had an IEP or whatnot, and then it's in songs.
Right,
You have a comment in the chat from Oscar.
So Oscar said that primary language can be incorrect as custody is only concerned with preferred language of communication.
That's very true.
Right, yeah, we are working on it, and IEPs are very few. In my 8 years with the state, I've only actually seen a handful of true IEPs when we've gotten a student record. It's small. Yeah. And then,
okay, so go ahead, do that.
we are, every institution has their own school, and we are WASP accredited, so that K-12 school
So please take
accreditation.
one and pass it back.
And noted, these are all the names of our schools.
Out.
In California or just your area?
Just in the state of
In
California.
the state of California, correct. Notice we didn't put the institution names on here, because we are a school. We're a school within the larger institution.
Yeah.
And I will point out that at the bottom there is the phone number that Patrick was referring to.
Oh, yeah.
Call the 916 number. If you get a student who says I was incarcerated in state prison within California, you can call that number. The person will pick up the phone and you can say, I'm looking for records for this person. So we hope that will be helpful for you. If you need more information, if the student says I was in a high school diploma program while I was incarcerated, yes, we do kind of have like a credit recovery. In a way, it's not really credit recovery, but that's the closest reference I can make for you. You can call that, we can work on getting actual transcripts so you could see what high school classes they were working on and what we show that they have completed while they were incarcerated with us. And I say the collective us.
And then on the back of this sheet, thanks to Oscar Medina, who's with us virtually today, and his team, here's a chart that we use to translate scores
Put it on the slide.
between CASAS and TABE and Lexile and scale scores. So that'll help you if you get an REA and you're like, what's that mean? It'll help you translate that.
Right.
Okay,
So can I ask a question about that LEA? Everybody who's been in any kind of an educational program has one?
an REA, yes,
And anybody can call that number and ask for it?
no. So the person that answers that phone will identify that person. I don't want to talk about how, but they will. And then it's mailed off to the address we have on file.
So the prospective student
The
has to
prospective
request
student
it.
needs to request
The
it, just like a
student has to-
prospective
okay.
student needs to request a transcript. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about where the adult school digital literacy, that's the new name, right? Okay, our students have very little internet experience and almost no etiquette. None. Okay, our students don't have laptops, we're laptop adjacent on good days, and she starts to weep, it's not a good day. When things are up and functioning, it's semi-good, but we're still existing in the 20th century.
With that limited access to technology, they do not have the troubleshooting skills. They don't know, check the power, check your cables, check, log off and back on, close the window out, open it back up. All those things that I just went through, right? They do not have any of those skills because they haven't had the exposure, right? That we usually would walk through with those things.
I think that one thing that we're not saying is that the students' strong desire to learn within CDCR. And right now, I really, like my boss, Oscar, he had all these smart boards now going to all the prisons. And so they're being exposed to more and more and more
Yes.
technology than when I started at CDCR
Absolutely.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's a big difference that you see in students right now, especially like with the Achieve 3000 and their Lexile levels. That program is amazing.
Yep.
And so students are now, even though they're 80 years old, they're now on the computer, they're typing, they have laptops that they never thought they were gonna use a laptop. And it's been slow, but right now, if you walk into classrooms, you see a lot of technology in there right now.
And I don't wanna paint too bleak of a picture, what she's saying is exactly true. But again, it goes back to their time, everything's controlled. So they don't have the same sort of experiences that others have, but thank you for that, that was well said.
And that goes back to, they don't have the time with the technology either. So we get a new laptop, a new tablet, a new whatever. We're like glued to it, right? They get to use that laptop in their classroom for a couple of hours.
Not only that, but what they have access to internet wise is extremely limited. For example, they have laptops in transitions class, but they can't do anything as far as they can type out a resume. There's no way for the transitions teachers to print it for them.
Oh, that's true.
So, I mean, we're still that way, even though we got brand new technology. Oh, we should be able to do this. And they can't. There's no way to even
They also
transfer
have
those funds.
tablets now too, right? That they do
And
video
tablets.
streaming on and email that they never had before.
Right,
So that's also something that's really new. And in those tablets, they have a lot of access to different education programs.
they have more choice.
They have a lot more choice. That is true. Tablets have, seems to have rolled out tablet outside of education about a year, 2 years ago. So,
Not fully deployed, yeah.
yeah.
You're talking about level 4, perhaps there are the degrees on the.
So I don't wanna minimize the growth we're going through at this point, but one of the things that we discovered with our laptop deployment is that, we had anticipated a higher knowledge base than they really had. And it's in the nitty gritties. They can get in and kind of use things that are set up for them. But when it comes to things like filing systems, that's one of our biggest issues is that students are always losing their files, especially in Canvas and other LMS systems.
You have a comment from Oscar about the Lexile. Would you like me to open it or?
Oh, he gave an updated one.
Yeah,
This is an updated version of the conversion table that Patrick just handed out. Oh, okay, so we'll make sure we send that
We'll make
out.
that available to you.
Sure.
For sure. They can be like a little kid with a new toy, just like all of us are, so they're gonna check it out in a way and maybe only wanna do that, so every day that they come to class, they're only going to be wanting to be on the computer, not do any of the other tasks educationally that you have set for them.
Oftentimes, they don't have the vocabulary. So think about the time when you had to fix the engine in your car, fix the plumbing in your house, and you went to Ace Hardware, and I said, you say, I want one of those thermal jiggers that go into the sink over in the corner. That's the reality. You know, I come to something like this, and I'm always picking up new words, so I don't know what I can ask for, that I didn't have before.
They can be really easily frustrated. For example, logging in. I was in a session this morning talking about how to help support students remember their password. Oh, we'll just take out your phone and make a new contact and enter your password, which was genius, I thought, thank you very much. But they don't have a cell phone, right? And, well, don't write it down on a piece of paper because then somebody else is gonna find it and log in as you, right? Not that they can get very far, but that process, did you type it correctly? I dealt with a student last week, trying to get them logged in for an hour. An hour. Because what they thought our temporary password of their birthday was not CCR things, it's one thing, but what they said their birthday was something different, so. Easily frustrated, I was amazed that this man had enough patience to sit there for an hour and try and work through that problem with us. Most of the time, they will get up, they will slam it, they will walk away. I'm done with this, this is stupid.
They need clear and enforced expected use. They need a document. This is their reality. If you have a system where they're on a laptop and they sign it electronically, it's probably not gonna get the same amount of attention as if they have that piece of paper. You know, we heard this morning, we take students from where they are to where you need them to be. And that's where they are in the moment. You can get them there, but if your real big goal is that you're following these rules, if you have them sign it, that really means something to our guys and gals.
They need the expectations set for them, what they can do, what they cannot do. It needs to be spelled out, click here, go there, you can do this, and how to manage that. And then also when you're talking about an assignment, like there's a due date on that, but more like communication things. It's okay to email me as an instructor, you might say that. Don't email me 20 times in an hour, right? Or, which has happened. Or on the flip side of that, if you respond to them with a question, maybe they've emailed and you're having that communication back and forth, that the expectation is they respond to you within 24 hours or something. And further with that, that maybe if you're gonna have some expectations of not using text speak or slang or curse words in emails or anything like that, right? So setting some of those clear expectations, they're really used to having it spelled out for them, clear boundaries.
So they need maximum support at the beginning and just don't assume anything. Just support them. So what do they need to feel succeed? They need to feel comfortable and welcome. My heart felt good when I was hearing that sort of language 50 minutes ago from you all, is that, you know, there's welcoming. They really need that. Somebody said they're more afraid of us than we are of them. It's true. You need to really draw them in. Not that anybody in this room would do this, but none of this can help you, you know, they have to feel good.
I think we've already said that, and they need shorter, smaller, chunking it. As you see that they're ready to make more decisions, then you can open it up.
We have Oscar Medina, this is for you. We have 4 primary things we work on, goals, and one of them is the use of academic language. Our students really, within English, have 2 languages. You know, they have their street language and they have their academic language. And we expect them to speak with an academic register. And you should expect the same.
Oscar said, yay.
Time management. We all could probably work on this. That's structured, you have an assignment, it's gonna take you this much time. Plan backwards when to start it, what pieces you need. They just need that extra scaffolding pieces of life in general that they haven't had in the past while they were with us.
I think this is just good practice. But be mindful when assigning mentors or pairing people up, okay? Our guys in the classroom have kind of this rule that yard politics don't come in the room. But like we said in the beginning, the gang stuff is real. So while we may put guys together from different ethnicities, within a single ethnicity, if you're trying to put two guys together that are in rival gangs, there's, at very least, there's probably not gonna be much, but there's gonna be friction and difficulty. And we want them to get beyond that, but you need to think about your timing. Brand new person in your school, you wanna get them ensconced and rooted. Let them have the easy path and then take on these other challenges. That's a recommendation.
We already talked about supplies and where to purchase. They need those extra directions. Go to XYZ store to buy folders, buy pencils, pens, all those sorts of things. Anything extra. Talking about a mouse and a dongle. There, we're talking about some specific language there. What's a dongle? They're certainly not gonna know where to go find it. So those extra steps.
I know you are already thinking about this, but exemplars are important. And it's back to assume nothing. You know, you can't really say ratify paragraph essay. Okay, what's a paragraph? I mean, you're gonna have it. And I know you know that already.
They may have housing insecurity, along with food, shelter, clothing, all those things. So, and they may not know how to prioritize what things they need to do. Well, they need food, they need a new coat, they need some other things, and then you're telling them, well, they need some folders, and they need paper, and they need this book, and all these things, they're not gonna know how to prioritize it, but they're gonna show you their new cell phone, right? The best iPhone, whatever. They're going to need some help with some of those other things. And I'm just curious for my own information, I guess. As an adult school, do you help in those situations too? I can't imagine with housing.
We do, I mean, in a sense that we have a resource navigator. So we have her, when you need food, go here, our district has a food pantry, go here on Friday at this time and get food. Housing, okay, this is your contact, go here, tell them you've been referred by the adult school. So Melina, you know, she's our resource navigator. One of the things she does is to make sure that list is always updated, that she makes sure she has a contact person there. That way we're doing what we call a warm handoff. It's not like go there and someone in the office will help you.
Right.
We like to make sure that they know who they could talk to and
And thank you for using the term, because that is exactly what we're trying to create right now, is that warm handoff. And we have another session tomorrow, that's similar but different, and that's, again, bottom line purpose is we want to create a warm handoff. I see these issues all over the place, but there are ways. So we're down to 4 minutes, Amy. Why don't you do that last slide real quick, and then we'll do Q&A. Two more. Do two more.
You want the next one, please? There we are.
One more.
You're so funny. Oh, this one. This is what he's telling me to do. I'm like, what are you talking about?
This is more important here, darn questions anyway.
Any teachers, that's what this is all about. If you are interested in becoming a teacher in prison, in an institution, you could go to CDCR Cal Careers. It is a different process. We typically don't post teaching jobs on EdJoin, which most people go to look for, most teachers go to look for a job. You have to go to basically CDCR, or I'm sorry, California jobs to look for them. Just you could type in teacher into the search engine and you would find the links to that. It's a little bit of a different process again.
It
kind of
stays.
It's state. I think bureaucracy is a little cumbersome. You're welcome to reach out to Patrick and I or any of the other CDCR folks and we can help you through that process, but most of our institutions, our 32 active institutions throughout the state, are looking for teachers, academic teachers and CTE teachers. So if you know somebody who is a journey tradesman, then they could also come and teach. We're always looking.